So hi everybody and welcome back. This video is about the building up of that model. It's a Studio 27. It's a reissue kit, for the McLaren MP4/5B, the one from Suzuki in the 90s. I think this was the car that in reality lasted for, I think, 500 meters, because if I'm not wrong, it was the car that Ayrton Senna used, yes, to win the championship, but it was the one of the crash at the starting line. If you Google for Suzuka 90 start, at the start of the race, he had a crash together with Alain Prost, the Ferrari, and that was the way that Ayrton Senna took the championship in the night. Incredibly great champion. I love it, Senna. This model is really well done, even if it is a reissue of what Studio 27 did back in time. Studio 27 is, I call it in Italiano, Studio 27, 27, taking the number from the Gilles Villeneuve Ferrari, and they are active since 1995, and this is the series about the world champion car. The model is one of the first one that they did. It's a little particular kit because um, they had a strange way to cast the model. Basically is very very heavy, huge parts in resin, so you have to add some extra details, except for example I did here in the wheels. So I concentrated myself in the valves, the writings, and the balancing weights, in the front wheels and in all the wheels of the model. It's quite straight from the box, we can say. It is particular because the only huge work that I did here was to give a little more depth to the cockpit, even if you don't see so much there. Basically, they did, probably it was the same, so it probably was neither needing so much this type of work, but the cockpit was completely closed after the line of the dashboard, so it was completely closed by resin, and they cut it and they made it a little more deeper of a couple of centimeters, not to arrive deep down there where the pedals were, the pedals were right in front there in that position, under the suspensions, but just to give a little extra depth to all the cockpit. I added a little different seat belts, the typical seat belts from Boss, made them in tissue with photo etched buckles. They don't provide this in the kit, so it's stuff that you have to make by your own. And all the model itself have been finished with Tamiya colors, that is the color, the proper color that you have to use when you do a Marlboro livery of the 90s. It's a specific color that Tamiya did, because Tamiya made exactly the same models. Even if in plastic they have more detail because they have the engine that is visible. This was a car that had all the entire coverage that come away, so it was not divided with the rear part, with the rear edge that you can see just the final part of the car. This was completely opened, so you had to take away all the upper part of the model. I added the little photo etch sets on the suspensions, to add a little more extra detail. There is not so many details in this model. They are just very very extremely well done for the shape. The shape is really taken. As you can see, really the line is exactly the correct one, the correct shape of this wonderful, it was an iconic McLaren of the 90s. And I had a little pins on the mirrors. Of course, all the model is made in resin for the body and metal for the front spoiler and the rear spoiler. So the result is that the rear spoiler is quite huge and quite heavy, and I really hope it lasts. I added some pins all over the model to make it a little more steady, and it should last. It should, I hope, really last. Quite simple model, and absolutely eye-catching for the livery, for everything. Not so many issues in the build. Not easy because you have to be quite clean when you finish such models, and the livery should be absolutely perfect and well done. It's also very very good that they provide the proper Marlboro logos. This car was famous to have the tobacco sponsor. They cannot promote it on the box, because it's forbidden, but inside the box you will find the correct decals, as well as as you can see from the number that I have it here, the color is matching to the 27 in the front, but is slightly different, because they made it a little more bright color for the 27, probably for really for camera purpose. In the video you cannot see that, but in reality I can see it. It's slightly different than 27, but no problem. And that's it. It was one of my attempt to do a Formula One, a very important Formula One world champion car. And I absolutely like it, and also I like it a lot, the final result with that little extra, you know, also the little lockers for the covering of the upper part. That's it. Amazing model, very well done by Studio 27, and I enjoyed so much to build this wonderful and amazing world champion car.